Okay, well, committee of the whole will call to order. First thing on the agenda is a rezoning application 2018-02 of.
Please repeat.
Thank you. I'll just ruin it, so, and you just roll it off your tongue like nothing, sorry. What up?
So basically, we had the public hearing earlier this evening. I'm recommending that we bring forth the resolution for second and third reading of this bylaw. It's nice to see something go into the area. Not only is it positive to see development there, but I think it'll have a positive impact on the surrounding businesses, restaurants, etc.
What about the height of the building, Randy? Is that a ladder truck issue? Is that what?
Yes,
that's the-
it's a fire issue. They've talked, like, right now, this is pretty much just the zoning to rezone to permit that in the area. Now they're gonna be making an application as to what exactly they're gonna be developing on there. So that's when we're gonna be hitting the parking issues, the height of the building issues. And I know we've had a discussion about height in the past, and if we require different equipment to facilitate that, then it's gonna be at the applicant's expense. It's not something that we could do right off the top right now.
Brian?
What's our responsibility then with regard to the existing buildings that are above the two-story height already?
Those were basic, we don't even know how those got in at the time, I'm sure, like with high rise and stuff.
grandfathered.
Yeah. So moving forward, what had happened quite a few years back, we had our zoning bylaw said it was only for 2 stories. Then we had it amended to permit 3 stories. This came up again about the heights and what kind of requirements would we need to provide fire services. So we amended it again back to the 2. And a lot of the buildings that you have in town, like meaning high rise, those were probably in place well before our bylaws.
Hospital,
All right.
Yeah.
a lot of apartment buildings are more than
Yeah.
2 stories.
So, going forward, do we have to be worried about getting a ladder truck of some sort?
I wouldn't be too interested until we find out what the applications are and then maybe consider that at the time and that they pay for that.
So is there an issue with existing buildings, and if you had a tragedy, how does it come back to the PA, or is there any?
It was, no, and basically we provide the best service we can. I know that they do regular exercises on height restricted properties. So because it was in place, we do that, but moving forward, then we have to have the discussion, because they're not grandfathered. Any new development.
The other structure, I guess, would be KPI. Well, it's too tall.
There's a number of them.
Yeah.
HBR,
I think some of them have their own infrastructure in place for fire rescue, like mainly the high rise and the hospital. One question I had though is that we got, I don't remember if it was a plea or something from the fire department about saying that if they wanted to increase the number of fire rescue vehicles, that would also mean we would need an expansion to the fire hall because they currently don't have.
they can't park it.
And if we bought it, they wouldn't have anywhere to put it.
And the 5 million can't fix.
I wonder if we could partner with OCN or something, like
Yeah.
if they have
Because it's-
space
yeah.
that we could put a truck in or.
It gets us moving on the right direction.
Yeah, this is basically the zoning, so
Community growth.
the next part is gonna be where we actually deal with the construction and requirements.
Okay, item number 4, a new pickup truck.
So this is a tender for the replacement of Unit 71. What we're doing is we're replacing it in Public Works. We had tenders for a 3/4 truck, or 3/4 ton. 3 bids received, some of these were passed over. So we're looking at a resolution from Great North, who is the second lowest bid, and it's in the amount of $44,573.98 plus $1,979.76 for accessories. This came in under what we had initially budgeted. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna replace fleet, and then the oldest one will go out and be sold at public auction.
Okay.
So we'd require
Need
a
a
resolution.
resolution?
And again, we're on with replacement of Unit 69 pickup. It's being replaced, Twin didn't supply the specs, and it's basically the exact same as the last one, the same price, everything. So we require a resolution.
I think some people bid in 2018 as opposed to a 2019
Yeah.
one as well. Yeah.
Careful with the cake.
Okay.
Water.
The
dry was that, Chief?
We're agree, tendering policy.
Need butter.
So the tendering policy has changed now, to the US Partnership Trade Agreement. So our tenders
Yeah.
policy has been changed to ensure that all tender notices are to be posted on the MERC System Canadian site. What they're doing is they're kind of, like, not segregating, but they're sectioning Manitoba, and every province will have their own, but now all tenders go on those sites. So we have to amend our tender policy to accompany that.
Does it cost us money to subscribe?
You know, I should have asked that question. I think it does on the bigger ones, but I don't know if it does on the small
I
ones.
think, I know when we worked for the province, we had to advertise on MERCs. And I think it depends on where the tender gets classed in the categories. I know for people that want to download the tenders, they have to have subscriptions. They pay subscription fees to access. but I'm
And
not
you have
sure.
to pay per tender as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that the owners that are releasing the tenders have to pay. I think it might just be that they
The
take
people
most of the
receiving.
cost for the people that are doing the receiving, so.
I will clarify that in email all of council.
Okay.
And not even necessarily if there's a cost to it, there's a manpower cost to it as well too, right?
It's actually a pretty useful system though. I mean, depending on the response that you're getting, I suppose. For larger projects, you get good mileage and good coverage, but I don't know, you put a truck tender up there, are you just wasting your time? Probably. But
Okay, anything else? 4.4, donation policies.
So if you recall at our last meeting, we had a little bit of a discussion as it related to the KRC billing the town anytime we give a donation. And we've discussed this is all the same pot of money for the town of LaPaw. So we've amended the policy, which removes invoicing the town, or invoicing with KRC for donating to the facility. So it's just an amendment to our policy.
And repealable,
Yeah,
because they not.
they do contradict each other.
It is replaced, right. Any discussion?
just that at the time, when KRC ran its own bank account and its own budget, it made sense to do that so that we could actually tag a cost or track what donations looked like coming in and going out, because at the council table, we would waive fees and it would impact KRC's budget. And they had no control over what was coming or what was going, so in that fashion, it got tracked back.
And a lot of times it was double up to where they were coming to us for a donation and getting a donation through KRC.
Yep. So the changes, I mean, it makes sense to do that now, given the recent changes.
Okay. Change of meeting date.
So November 11th, holiday falls on the 12th, the Monday, which will be closed. We were gonna move it to Tuesday the 13th. However, I'm going to be at the office those first 2 days. I want to ensure with new council that I'm here for the meeting, so I'm requesting that we change the November 12th meeting to November 5th, the week before.
Is that
No
time
problem.
everybody sworn in?
We did it November 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can probably do it on the Thursday or Friday before that. Swear in, have a ceremony, talk to the RM about it. It's normally what we do.
Yeah. Okay, 4.6, additions and deletions.
So again, we have tax additions and cancellations. What you'll see is a net decrease to revenue in the amount of $125.81. Overall, our tax additions showed a credit of just under $19,000 overall. Again, this is as a result of the lake lots and the other town lots being sold, which provided us about $18,000 for 7 months.
Great. 4.7, payroll and accounts.
We would require a resolution to cover pay period 19 in the amount of $97,981.63, general checks in the amount of $192,236.40, and EFTs in the amount of $110,744.40, for a total of $409,62.43. $59,502 of that is pension that's payable, not only the employer's portion, but also the employee, and $35,000 of that is hydro.
Okay, pay the bills. 4.8, reserve fund balances.
So this was a submission by Councillor Gibb. I don't know if you want to comment on it, Alan?
Sure.
Okay,
Back in May, we talked about having a policy for reserve fund balance as we get closer to having the 2017 audited statements. just was following up to see where we're at, which I think it was
Yeah.
just sitting there, so
Yeah.
when that comes in, then we can
Yeah.
roll right through.
And the audit has been submitted for a bit, we're still waiting to get it back, so once we have that, we can set a meeting date. And the policy, that was never approved, was it, Jen?
No, it's still in draft form, as Graham hasn't had a chance to go over
Okay.
it as much as thoroughly as he'd like to. Because he
Okay.
was put on special service levy.
Yep.
Okay, 4.9, monthly financial statements, I would imagine along the same lines. Alan?
Along the same lines, yes, but we're not waiting for the auditors, that's just internal, right? So
No.
I think
I've
again.
mentioned more
Yeah.
than once, in fairness to Graham
Yeah.
Allen, we did
No,
switch
no.
him around.
No, I
So,
agree,
Yeah,
right? And we had that discussion, the other thing, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I guess my concern is always we're a $13 million operation, we need to have current statements, so
yeah,
it's not the first time I've brought it up. but,
no,
uh,
for sure.
Maybe not the rest.
Yeah.
And sadly, my
Been
answer
pretty
hasn't
consistent.
changed.
No, but I mean, I think that's, for an operation this side, that's
Yeah,
crucial.
Okay,
So, and I think, October, you said October 22nd,
Yeah.
that'd be up to the end of June?
yes.
okay. 4.10, special service levy, FAQ and the water bills.
So we had a couple information sessions and I just think that there's still some confusion and even some misinformation that's flowing out amongst the community about the special service levy, what it means and the purpose of it. So I thought maybe we could take the FAQ sheet that not everybody got to see because they weren't at the hearing and maybe add to it to address some of the more predominant concerns that came forward from the citizens who attended and stick them in the water billing for October so that it's ahead of the public hearing and to try to get some more factual information out.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing that as our billings are going out in October anyway.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. All right, let's see, 4.11, minutes from other committees funded by the town. Councilor Frost.
A while ago, council passed a resolution requiring all town-funded organizations, the recycling center, museum, library, DMC, and CDC to forward their monthly meeting minutes to council for information and also to assist with succession planning. So every year, the council rep can change. Every 4 years, we have newly appointed councilors. So I think it would be beneficial to have some background information for the person who's taking over on that committee. And we haven't been receiving minutes from all organizations, so I don't know if there's a breakdown in communication where some of the organizations don't realize that that resolution was passed. It was also brought up that it's not in the CDC's agreement, so maybe we need to look at amending those agreements for 2019 to say that in order to continue to receive funding, that the town requires monthly meeting minutes.
Well, in terms of the CDC, they report to us quarterly. I mean, I'm not unhappy with that. If we need to get it changed, then let's talk to them and see about it. But I mean, I'm not unhappy with getting the quarterly reports.
The recycle center, there actually isn't an agreement that we can find. We were looking into this, not because of this, but we were looking into Graham, at the last budget, Graham raised some questions about how the funding model was set up, and so we were looking into trying to track down some kind of funding agreement or something, and there really is nothing. I mean, there is a set of corporation papers that identifies the three municipalities creating the corporation, that is the PAW and Area Recycling Center. It would be good to actually initiate some kind of agreement, I think.
Yeah.
A tribe or quad party agreement, I guess, if OCN, we are in the town and the center are signatory to it. And that would be a great place to identify, maybe more than just minutes, the requirement for an annual presentation on the budget, on the 5-year capital plan, it is, the recycle center of that group is a fairly, I would say, critical resource at this point in time. And it's also a major expenditure, so. But that would require some effort on all 4 parties to pull that agreement together. I don't think it would be a reasonable expectation to simply ask the general manager of the recycle center to draw that up. So, but that might be the appropriate place for that requirement to be lodged as opposed to a resolution. I mean, it's pretty hard you can pass a resolution here, the ability to enforce that requirement If you were to sign agreements with a group, is a little different. So embedded in the recycle center agreement, and then it's not a question of who's sitting at the table. It's a requirement that the minutes go, and they go to the town, to the RN, to the OCN.
So, pardon my ignorance, but when did we make that request of our groups that we found?
Earlier this year.
Was it earlier this year? Okay.
Yeah,
It's like in
April, March,
January,
April?
January, February.
Was it that early? Yeah.
Four asking us what the minutes are.
Okay.
That was, Jody did that. That was Jody's.
Was that long?
Oh, yeah, this has been a long time that
Wow.
state
I thought it was
has
just
been,
like
it's
really
supposed to-
earlier this year, but yeah.
It was an information of Jody's.
We should try and tighten this up then.
I know the discussion, like for the recycling center, there was a little bit of pushback because, again, like what Andrew said, there is a resolution passed here at town council, but there hasn't been, I guess there was no formal request by letter to the board. And there was a little bit of pushback when we were having the discussion on that. So if maybe a letter asking for them to the board of the recycling center might.
Yeah, I think forwarding minutes is less of a concern. I think, that was probably a larger conversation around some of the funding changes that had occurred, but.
Well, like yours or town funding, like CPQ.
No, the recycling one.
Oh,
No, I got them from,
Okay.
what's her name?
Just,
She sent them all
just
out.
maybe not in closing, but as far as your comment around succession planning, I mean, on the CDC's point of view, we developed a very extensive service agreement. So we spent quite a bit of time on it, only got ratified just over 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we get quarterly reporting, quarterly presentations. The audited statement has to be out to council and to the RM as well. I think it's by June 30th. So as far as being above board, and if you're looking for a plan for the future, there's not much information, I don't think, that you
I
don't
just think it
have.
should be bigger across the board if everybody else needs to forward their monthly minutes.
Then that's fine, I mean, then it's opening the service agreements, right? So if that's what council, direction of council, then
It's good to review your agreements every month.
A good reminder for that. Anything else on this issue?
Yes, with regard to the CDC, the issue I have after thinking about it, recycle centers a service item, museums a service item. Some of these funding groups we work with, provide service and funding, and their minutes are basically not private. They don't go into in-camera a whole bunch of the time. I think my concern is that a CDC has a whole different mandate, and it's an incorporated thing. If we don't want the CDC, then we don't fund it. It'll have to get along on its own. But we recognize the value and the need for it, but I think we would create somewhat of an impediment to them doing the business with business, and that can be small business, can be big business. Who's going to come and have a conversation with our CDC if they know it's going to be in the public forum next month at a council meeting by way of the minutes? And if you can't have, at a board level like that, if you can't have open discussion with open records, then, potentially we could ask, well, give us your minutes and we'll get a blacked out, more black lines than any content, because it's all privileged information that can't move to the public realm, the same as others can. So the fact that we have a system, and that's probably why when we made the arrangements and the agreements with the CDC, we went with give us regular reporting. That gives you the opportunity to determine what is suitable to the public realm and what is not. It may be a work in progress or whatever. We want that group to continue to function well and move things forward. So I have a problem with asking them to move their private and business information into the public. It's a corporation, it's not a department of the town, so there's a separation there that we have to respect.
Crystal?
Just like, that's why you have in camera. You would go in camera for anything you didn't want divulged to the public.
Right, but in camera, as we say here, put your pen down, no record. Well, they're gonna have a whole meeting that'll be like it's in camera with no record. Well, that doesn't work very well for efficiency and moving things forward and doing good business. And they're in a business element as opposed to a service element. And we want that group to go out there and make those contacts and be the group that people want to come and talk to and look at opportunities in our community. So we have to consider it as in a different light, I think, than the other groups we sit on.
We pay them to provide economic development services to us though. Well, I get what you're saying, I still think that for continuity and succession planning, like Councillor Gibbs been the chair for over 2 years now, so somebody else is going to come in and take that over because we know he's not rerunning, and there could be some information that's lost, or a person isn't totally up to speed, and you spend a lot of time trying to get that person up to speed. Maybe they're more of a visual person, so they need to read the minutes as opposed to just getting a quick oral report from somebody. And again, for continuity, if we're gonna do it for one organization, we should do it for all.
Well, it's not like an election though at the CDC, I think that board will remain. There'll be one person swapped out from the town representative replaced with another. I'm sure that board will bring that person up to speed. I agree with Brian. I mean, we keep wanting to tell the CDC to go over here and be responsible and do a bunch of business work. And then the moment they start doing that, we just want to kick out their accountability and responsibility from underneath their feet and have them sit on the floor like a service group. And it just doesn't, I agree with Brian. I think what you're asking to do doesn't line up well with what the expectations of the performance of the CDC. I think Brian's points are good ones.
I think we spent an enormous amount of time meeting with folks like Mrs. Mead, who helped design new direction for the CDC, and that was part of, there was a whole number, quite a few items that the town required from the Community Development Corporation, and all those things are listed there. And monthly reporting wasn't one of them. And so I think maybe we need to perhaps revisit and see where that takes us. I completely understand both sides. The idea of confidentiality is absolutely critical, especially in that organization. At the same time, though, it should be the same across the board, as much as possible. Yeah.
Just one final comment, Councillor Cross. I question the idea that we have hired them to provide us a service as opposed to we gave them a grant. We give out grants, and I believe that's how it shows up in our books, as a grant, not as a fee for service.
We give a grant to the recycling center and the museum board and the library.
That's
They're
right.
all the same. We give grants to all of them to provide a service for us.
Yeah, well, no, to
Service
provide a
agreement.
service to the community, and the residents of the community get the benefit, not council.
Well, when I say us, that's what I mean, like as in the town.
I'm pretty sure.
No,
we won't
I
find
think
a
if you-
CDC
I think
in
if
the
you go
province
that
has
route-
public minutes. Like, there won't be a CDC in the province that you can find that has public minutes. If you asked, I'm sure the president of the AMM, when they were here and we had a visit with them a couple of years back, we were struggling with the CDC, and we explained some of the requests of council to the CDC. He was shaking his head and saying, what do you mean that the head of the CDC is not an elected official? What do you mean though? Like, this stuff has to be private, like they're not public records. This is not a service group. This is a business development corporation. It is a different animal. You won't find a CDC in the province that has minutes of public record. You will find them quarterly reporting. You will find them driving the will of council in business, but you won't find the details. That's what effective CDCs are doing.
I might suggest then that we did get a hold of the province and get some direction on this. And then we can get back to us and let us know. But I mean, the more reporting, the better, for sure. For sure. Okay, anything else? Okay, 4.12, request from Kelsey Trail Snow Riders.
We had a request from Kelsey Trails snow riders to groom access across Campbell Lake. They're looking at about 50 meters of light bush on town property. I say that we pass a resolution approving this, subject to them doing the proper cleanup. This is a good thing for our area, and it's well needed, and as long as they clean up, I see this being no issue. As long as it doesn't also impact any of the drainage at the ditch for the airport.
Do you know Parks have talked to the people, there's only one house on that lake. And I just, I would ask if the province would talk there and what they think about all of that. I mean, when you've got the only house on a lake and all of a sudden they're changing routes and whatnot, we all hear the wah, and I don't think so. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. All right, Deputy Mayor. You did good work.
Oh, be it resolved that we now move ourselves into the in-camera portion of Committee of the Whole with Mayor Scott and the Chair to discuss matters which require our attention.
Dude.